On World News Tonight this Tuesday, the Supreme Court defines more specifically what it takes to be called disabled in America. President Clinton talks it up for American troops in Europe and sees firsthand what it was like to be a refugee from Kosovo. The lingering damage from lead poisoning from one generation to the next. And we'll take a closer look at information technology driving the economy and making millionaires.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. There was a landmark decision from the Supreme Court today about civil rights law. In the case of the Americans with Disabilities Act, the court has established a precedent and limited the act's effect. This will have an effect on millions of Americans. In the cases today, it boils down to this: if glasses enable you to see, you are not disabled. And so we start in Washington with ABC's Jackie Judd.
The rulings are a defeat for a mechanic with high blood pressure and a truck driver and 2 pilots with poor vision. All of them had sued after being denied employment. But the court said they are not protected under the Disabilities Act because their problems could be corrected. The mechanic used medication, the pilots used contact lenses. This is a big victory for American businesses, which feared a flood of what they would consider frivolous lawsuits from people with relatively common impairments.
Anyone who wears glasses, who takes a pill in the morning and then is able to go to work and function normally, would have been protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act and able to sue if they felt they'd been treated unfairly.
Writing for the majority, Sandra Day O'Connor said if a person is taking measures to correct a physical or mental impairment, the effects of those measures must be taken into account in determining whether that person is disabled. When Congress passed the Disabilities Act, it expected the law to cover 43 million Americans who needed extra protection in the workplace because of serious handicaps. The court predicted 160 million could be covered if the act were more broadly defined, and said that was clearly not what Congress had intended. But critics say the decisions hurt many of the people the law was supposed to protect.
If you just have an impairment that you've overcome, you won't be considered disabled enough to bring a lawsuit. This turns the law on its head.
Today's rulings greatly limit the scope of what is a landmark civil rights law. The justices made clear that practical considerations played a significant part in their thinking. Jackie Judd, ABC News, the Supreme Court.
The court has also ruled today on the controversial issue of how the mentally disabled should be cared for. The court determined that when practical, states should try to place the mentally ill in community care, which is part of society, rather than isolate them in institutions. Here's ABC's Aaron Hayes.
Free our people!
This case has galvanized advocates for the mentally ill.
This is about real choice.
It began when Elaine Wilson and Lois Curtis, both mentally disabled, sued the state of Georgia, which had confined them to a psychiatric ward in this hospital. The women wanted, instead, community-based treatment.
Being in the hospital, you feel like you're in this little box and there's no way out.
But Georgia fought to keep the option to hospitalize its mental patients, saying community-based programs can be too expensive, and well aware of the fallout in other states where mental patients left hospitals only to end up wandering the streets. But today the court ruled that unjustified isolation is discrimination, adding, confinement in an institution diminishes the everyday life activities of individuals, family relations, social contacts, work options.
It's discriminating against innocent, disabled people to keep them locked up when they don't need to be. And that's what the Supreme Court is saying.
But the ruling stops far short of telling states how to fix the problem. Indeed, it only requires them to provide community-based treatment if they have the resources to do it. A step in the right direction, say advocates for the disabled, but a much smaller step than they had hoped. Aaron Hayes, ABC News, Atlanta.
Just one other decision today. The court made it slightly easier for victims of discrimination at work to collect what are called punitive damages. The court ruled that workers do not have to prove that their employer's conduct was egregious in order to be entitled to the extra money. On the money tonight, the Coca-Cola Company has launched a major damage control campaign in Europe. Coke has taken out ads in newspapers across the continent today, saying it is sorry for responding so slowly after more than 200 people got sick from drinking Coke. The company is obviously worried about the lingering damage to its image. There's been a setback for the domestic steel industry. The Senate has voted down a bill to impose quotas on foreign steel imports. The U.S. steel companies have been doing better, but the industry claims it's been hurt by steel from Russia, Japan, and Brazil, among other countries. The administration had warned that the quotas could set off an international trade war. On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down more than 94 points to close at 10,721. On the NASDAQ, stocks were down just about 50 points. When we come back, America's Task Force Falcon in Kosovo, and the most significant part driving the U.S. economy, the information technology sector.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by AccuView.
Announcing a new way to see, near and far, the way nature intended. The creator of AccuView, the most prescribed contact lens, is introducing the revolutionary AccuView bifocal contact lens. The first with pupil intelligent design, near and far. Get out of wearing glasses and get into life, both near and far. New AccuView bifocal. It's how you see things. Visit your eye care professional or call us for more information.
With locations in over 1,800 cities and towns, there's always a Days Inn hotel nearby. Wherever you're going, wherever you're from. Days Inn. There you go.
The '99 Mitsubishi Eclipse. Postponed adulthood, starting in under $17,500. Now available with 0.9% APR financing for 48 months.
In Macedonia today, President Clinton got exactly the enthusiastic welcome you would expect at a refugee camp near the border with Kosovo. The president's message was not entirely what people living in tents for 2 months wanted to hear, but it was a very good day for him. ABC's Sam Donaldson is traveling with him.
He had seen them on television along with everyone else, but seeing them in person, the Kosovo refugees in their muddy makeshift camp, only 6 miles from the Kosovo border, was clearly a moving experience for President Clinton, his wife, and daughter. This camp, named Stenkovic 1, once held over 32,000 refugees, but with many streaming home, today fewer than 10,000 remain. While troops in U.S. Army helicopters kept a watchful eye, the president told his refugee audience that he knew they wanted to go home, but please wait a couple of weeks until landmines in Kosovo had been cleared.
I don't want any child hurt. I don't want anyone else to lose a leg or an arm or a child. I want to make sure it is a happy return.
The president got more cheers before he left Macedonia from a group of American soldiers taking part in the Kosovo International Security Force when he stopped to thank them for their effort. But the big crowd of American service personnel is at the Aviano Air Base in Italy, from where so many of the bombing sorties originated. From the refugees going home to the airmen who helped make it possible, this has been a most satisfying day for the president. Criticism of his handling of all this will surely continue, but today, Bill Clinton heard himself cheered as a winner. Sam Donaldson, ABC News, Aviano Air Base, Italy.
Britain said today that the 2 British soldiers who were killed in Kosovo yesterday were trying to detonate unexploded NATO cluster bombs. And in Kosovo's capital today, British peacekeepers defused another bomb only 100 feet from the town's biggest hotel. The NATO forces who are trying to stabilize the province are not finding it easy. The NATO commander, Wes Clark, asked the various NATO countries to hurry up with getting the troops that they have committed there. There are too many people, he said, who have yet to see a NATO soldier. ABC's Tom Foreman spent a day and a night with an American unit in the province called Task Force Falcon.
At noon today, U.S. Army soldiers dropped from a helicopter to surround a suspicious car. The owner, a member of the Kosovo Liberation Army, says he has no weapons. Then the Americans find a pistol and a grenade. At the same time, not far away, Marines get a tip that Serbs are using this hospital to hide guns. They storm the place and seize exactly 2 rifles.
We are going to enforce good order and discipline. We're going to enforce the laws as we understand them to be, which is we don't need guns in towns, we don't need guns along the streets and highways.
It is not easy. The troops must deal with language barriers.
Ask them if they're just coming back from the refugee camp or anything.
There is a shortage of translators, and they can seldom tell the rival factions apart.
Albanian or Serbian?
Albanian.
Albanian, okay.
Much of the violence comes after dark. Every night there are shootings between Serbs and Albanians, often fatal. 2 Serbs died last night, so American patrols are constantly moving beneath the stars.
That's why you're out here walking around in the night.
If we can be out here, then perhaps making our presence felt like this, it won't happen. They'll be less likely to do it if we're out watching them, you know, go about their daily business.
These are tough days as NATO troops try to build a peace that may last. Tom Foreman, ABC News, Kocenik, Kosovo.
Just one other item about the rest of the world. On Capitol Hill today, the Senate has voted to approve a plan for paying much of the U.S. debt to the United Nations. Under this plan, the U.S. will pay $819 million of the roughly $1 billion that it owes the UN in exchange for a reduction in future dues. This plan, this much, already faces strong opposition in the House of Representatives. When we come back, lead poisoning, when the damage is irreversible.
Mrs. Dash is shaking up cooking.
We're back and we're grilling burgers. With Mrs. Dash, we'll make you a hero. Take lean ground beef, add an egg, some breadcrumbs, and plenty of Mrs. Dash onion and herb. Or be brave. Try extra spicy. Then grill them. Mrs. Dash is a blend of 100% natural herbs and spices. No salt or MSG. Just the good stuff. Now that's a burger with a lot more Dash.
Call for more recipes.
Oh, I should have used Preparation H. Cool it fast. Introducing Preparation H Cooling Gel. Cools on contact for fast relief. New Preparation H Cooling Gel cools on contact.
In the beginning, all was darkness and sorrow. And then, one day, come, it is time. The Maytag Dual Cool Refrigerator, where finally the temperatures are just right. Yay, our future looks bright indeed, for this refrigerator actually keeps food fresh.
For 98 years, GMC has designed trucks for people who drove them not because they were trendy, but because their lives depended on them. Heroes who measured a truck by its power and its determination. That heritage lives in the Yukon Denali. A luxury SUV with a 255 horsepower V8. It meets the demands of professionals and the standards of history. The Yukon Denali by GMC.
When I take a liquid antacid, I feel like, ugh.
Well, now there's new fast-acting Mylanta Supreme.
What makes it supreme? Wow.
Well, that's good. I'm not kidding.
Very light. Yeah, it tastes like a dessert.
Mylanta Supreme. Taste it for yourself.
The manhunt intensified today for Rafael Resendez Ramirez. He's the suspected serial killer who works the railroad tracks and who's now on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. Federal agents say they are getting calls about him from all over the country, which often happens in a case like this. One tip today from Columbus, Ohio, closed down an entire rail yard. And in northern Illinois, investigators looked for a link to a double homicide there on Sunday, but late today they arrested a local suspect. The Journal of the American Medical Association is about to publish a study on lead and children. and it finds that more than 2 million children may suffer tooth decay because of exposure to lead. It was another reminder that lead in old paint or drinking water is still a major health hazard. Here's ABC's John McKenzie.
Lead poisons cells in virtually every part of a child's body, but the most significant damage occurs in the brain, especially during the first 6 years of life, when it can disrupt the development of nerve cells and how those cells connect to each other.
IQ is affected, specific learning disabilities occur, and especially the ability of the child to attend, focus, concentrate, sort, plan, all the kinds of functions that are needed for higher learning.
You can lower a child's lead levels either by removing the source of the lead or with the help of medication. The problem is, the damage that is done is often irreversible. Recent studies show that not only can the damage from lead poisoning be permanent, it can extend from one generation to another. That women who were once exposed to high concentrations of lead may be passing some of it onto their children. Within months of exposure, lead in the blood moves into bones and essentially stays there. But during pregnancy, it is turned loose. Increasing evidence suggests that same process that releases calcium from a woman's bones to nourish the fetus also releases those toxic deposits of lead.
If a woman has a large amount of lead in her bones, say because of lead poisoning as a young child, then that amount of lead, that greater amount of lead, will be passed to that baby in utero.
And studies suggest that exposure before birth can disrupt a child's development. One more chapter in the legacy of lead poisoning. John McKenzie, ABC News, New York.
The second study, also in the Journal of the American Medical Association, finds that vitamin C may help reduce lead levels in the blood. In Alaska today, the former captain of the Exxon Valdez has begun serving his sentence for his role in spilling 11 million gallons of oil into Alaska's Prince William Sound in 1989. Captain Joseph Hazelwood is required to perform 1,000 hours of community service. He'll work in a soup kitchen, which he's doing here, and pick up trash along Alaska's highways. In a moment, the force behind the explosive growth in the economy and the exploding wealth of thousands of Americans. We'll take a closer look.
It's time for your heartburn to kick in because your heartburn relief gave out. It happens 2 or more days a week, even though you've treated it and changed your diet. That frequent, persistent heartburn may be due to acid reflux disease, potentially serious.
It's Prilosec time. Time to see your doctor about prescription Prilosec. Your results may vary, but for many people, Prilosec provides 24 hours of complete heartburn relief with 1 daily dose. Ask your doctor for more information about Prilosec and if it's right for you. The most common side effects are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. 24 hours of complete heartburn relief is possible. It's Prilosec time.
You heard about this new Resolve fabric refresher? It removes the toughest odors safely and permanently. Your sofa's not only fresh smelling, in minutes it's dry. New quick drying Resolve fabric refresher.
Now there's a new kind of Alpo, Alpo Complete.
I try to take good care of myself. I feel the same way about Sam. Both of us start the day with a good meal. He gets this new Alpo Complete. The vet says it'll improve his digestion and keep him healthy from the inside. I need Sam to keep up with me. That's why I feed him Alpo.
New Alpo Complete, a breakthrough formula that keeps your dog healthy from the inside. A great dog deserves new Alpo from Friskies.
Introducing Benecol. My doctor said I need to watch my cholesterol, but it's hard.
Now there's new hope for millions of people concerned about their cholesterol. Benecol. It's a completely new kind of product used in place of butter or margarine. Studies show that Benecol actually helps promote healthy cholesterol levels.
It really tastes good. And it's good for my cholesterol?
I'd use it.
Benecol isn't just low in cholesterol, it actually promotes healthy cholesterol levels.
New Benecol, now available.
It's barbecue season, the busiest time of the year for your deck, which is why you should protect it with Thompson's Wood Protector. Nothing we make works harder, longer. For rain, sun, mildew, or low-flying meat, Thompson's Wood Protector, it never takes a day off.
We're going to take a closer look tonight at the driving force behind the current success of the economy. The Commerce Department announced today that since 1995, information technology has accounted for more than a third of the country's economic growth. The report is called the Emerging Digital Economy, and it makes very clear what a huge role in our lives information technology now plays. That's computers and their software, all the digital communications, and the enormous number of related services that we now use regularly. As ABC's Betsy Stark reports, it is only growing.
Today's report confirms that the explosive growth in information technology is likely to shape the American economy for years to come.
The Commerce Department report puts the entire U.S. economy on notice that information technology, computers, the internet are critical tools for their competitiveness in this next century.
And it's those tools which now drive almost every sector of this economy.
It's a hairdressing salon on the corner that is using the internet to make reservations, or it's Ford or General Motors improving their buying process, or it's a movie theater selling tickets online.
For workers in high technology, the digital economy is driving up their salaries. High technology workers now earn an average of nearly $53,000 a year, compared to roughly $30,000 for other workers. And the pay gap is growing. And from faster fast food restaurants to more efficient auto assembly lines, information technology is driving down inflation and the cost of doing business. The banking industry is a good example. It costs the bank $1.07 for a transaction using a teller. It costs 27 cents for the same transaction on an automated teller machine. Many of those transactions can now be made on the internet, and they cost the bank just a penny. And what about the future?
Nearly half of all American employees, of all people working in the U.S., in the next 5 years are going to be either working for a company that makes information technology or one that uses it in a very pervasive way.
The changes in this new digital economy are happening so fast, the government is having a hard time measuring them. By some estimates, electronic commerce alone is doubling every 9 months, and today's report offers no signs it's slowing down. Betsy Stark, ABC News, New York.
You heard Betsy Stark say there that the average salary in the high-tech industry is now about $53,000. It is also an industry which is spawning millionaires. So here is our next report from ABC's Brian Rooney.
Just last Friday, the three founders of City Auction threw themselves a party. Every one of them had just become a millionaire after only a year and a half in business on the internet.
It's a new world. When you can do things like that so quickly, it's a new world.
It's a new world with lots of new things. How can such a young man afford such an expensive car?
Stock options.
And new houses. Steve Kirsch founded a company called InfoSeek. What's he worth?
Plus 47 equals 299 million.
By some estimates, the high-tech revolution has created 1 million millionaires in the United States, 10,000 of them at Microsoft alone. There are at least 250,000 millionaires in Silicon Valley, and new ones every day.
The amount of money people pay for real estate around here is a good indication of how much money they have. The house behind me just sold for about $5 million. Now, this little house sold for $1.3 million. The average price of a home in Palo Alto, the heart of Silicon Valley, is $700,000.
Deanne Scherning was a secretary at Netscape 4 years ago when she paid $10 for stock options that turned into $1.2 million.
What was it like that day?
Well, it was a shock. It was so exciting, and it was unbelievable.
Bill Nguyen is a veteran of 5 startups, and he won't say what he's worth, only what it takes to make it.
It's based on how smart are you, how hard are you willing to work, and how big are your dreams.
These days in Silicon Valley, very big. Brian Rooney, ABC News, Palo Alto, California.
Well, when we come back, and there is a connection perhaps, donors wanted to stay in orbit.
Life's an adventure because you're over 50 and still exploring. So take the Centrum made just for you, Centrum Silver, with age-essential nutrients specially adjusted to keep pace with your changing nutritional needs. Centrum Silver, it's a great time to be silver.
With Days Inn hotels in over 1,800 cities and towns, finding a place to stay doesn't take a federal investigation. Days Inn, there you go.
Nancy will have to see from near to far almost 1,000 times today. Her eyes will focus on 40 labels, 60 charts, and 100 smiles. And in all that time, she'll never once think about the science that allows her to focus instantly at all distances. Nancy just knows that her Verilux lenses help her see better. And for her, that's a very comforting thought. Verilux, the comfort of better vision. For more information, call toll-free 1-800-VERILUX.
Shout it out.
The 99 Mitsubishi Galant, the fastest growing sales of any Japanese midsize sedan.
Ready to go.
One of our own is in need of a heart transplant.
Tonight.
I'm worried about Bobby, Doctor.
Unbelievable then.
Please don't let him die.
Unforgettable now. Jimmy Smith's Last Blues. ABC Tonight. Viewer discretion advised.
Finally this evening, a Russian fundraiser. We couldn't help but think today about the space race, that period from the late 1950s to almost the 1970s, when Americans were afraid, and in some cases it was fear, that the Russians were going to dominate space. And today a former cosmonaut has begun a national fundraising campaign to save the Russian space station Mir. It seems to be the only way to keep the 130-ton station in space. The government doesn't have the money. It's in pretty bad shape, the Mir, beset by fires on board, a collision while docking, gyroscope failures, leaking coolant. Old age, say the experts, and not worth saving. Not true, says the cosmonaut Vitaly Sevastyanov. It's the last symbol of the country's space glory. He's trying to raise $50 million. Today he got $80. At this rate, Mir will be space dust by the millennium. That's our report on World News Tonight. Later on Nightline, the race to find evidence to convict Slobodan Milosevic, the Yugoslav leader of war crimes. I'm Peter Jennings. Have a good evening. See you tomorrow. Good night.
Tomorrow, pagan rituals in the U.S. Army. Are these soldiers protected by or hiding behind the First Amendment? Watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABCnews.com, now a part of the Go Network.